Let the dragon consume you! Enemy sighted. Stop the payload! Stop the payload! In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The Birdwatcher's back at it one more time. Here's your host, Ryan and Clay. They're about to bring you some sweet Overwatch action.
All right, back by popular demand. The Birdwatchers.
Always. Are we back by popular demand, or is it just like we're going to be here every week whether you like it or not?
Yeah, so my mom said, hey, Clay, you got to get another episode out. That's popular enough for me. So
The popularist of demand. That's not even a word. Okay, I'll stop.
Popularist? Yeah, it is.
It is it?
No, it's not a word.
Okay. I'll get my hopes up. It's Super Bowl weekend. Well, yeah, it's Super Bowl weekend, man.
Yeah, it is.
Traditional sports for a second.
And we talked about it before the cast started. You have a favorite going into it, right? You have somebody you want to win?
Listen, okay, so I'm a Seattle Seahawks fan. Let's get that out of the way, right? But it would be insane if Patriots won again. Like, it's one of these ongoing things that if they keep doing it, I will keep saying, hey, I want to see this craziness happen because it's during my lifetime and I can talk about it for days to come. It's always something to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. But, dude, I got to go with L.A. here. You know, being originally from California, this is a newer team to L.A., right? So,
yeah.
What, 2 years now?
Yeah, I think 2 years.
Pretty crazy, man.
Already
Couple
here.
years. Yeah.
LA's hype, man. California has all the good things, right? You have the Golden State Warriors. You have, you have the LA Rams. Like, come on.
Yeah, great weather. Yeah.
Oh,
during
yeah,
this
amazing weather.
Last week of frigid cold across the United States, everybody that I follow that lives in California, they're like, what are you talking about, dude?
Exactly.
It's 70 and sunny.
It's, I actually have a story. Quick story.
Yeah.
So when I was in my sophomore year of high school, my mom did some travel nursing. We went out there and we stayed out there for about 3 months, right? As she was doing some work. So I got to live in LA for a bit, right? And, you think the same weather every day would be great, but it's kind of maddening. It's almost like living in a simulation. Because, like, the people are the same. It's the sameness, like, day to day. You don't have to expect rain. It's not going to happen. You might get, like, a slight rainstorm, like in Florida.
Right.
Yeah, but it never
because you're
stays.
essentially in the desert.
Yeah, exactly.
You just are really close to the coast. Yeah, I don't know. I think Tosh brought it up in a live skit when he was talking about, I don't want to live in LA because I like the seasons. And really, there's only one really good season, and that's 70 and sunny. So, I can't feel for you on that one, Ryan.
Okay, I mean, it was a surreal experience. There was more to it, but that was one of the things that I was like, it's going like, what the weather's going to be. It doesn't matter. You just stop checking the weathercast.
Yeah. Yep.
With that being said, let's get in our standard scheduling program. So one more reminder, and we're going to keep reminding until it happens, the Atlanta Rain Watch Party on February 15th at Battle and Brew. It's all ages. Show up if you can. And a couple of things have changed. Now we have a Eventbrite posting up that you can go get tickets. And Atlanta Rain has actually officially announced this as an official watch party. So if you go to their Twitter, you can see a link to that Eventbrite. If you go to our Twitter, you can see it there. If you go to Bear's Twitter, it's all the Atlanta content creators have it up on their Twitter. So people can easily find it, and they're free tickets. And if you're one of the first 50 people to show your ticket, you get a special gift, which will be revealed at the event, and you can post about it. It'll be cool. It's kind of a big deal. But outside of that, something else cool that happened is Clay and I did an interview, didn't we?
We did. It was nerve-wracking. Every job interview I go to, I have to look like I just ran a mile because that's all I really can run. I'm just sweating. It's like there's no way I get the job. I'm not going to get the job with whatever interview we just did. So.
Exactly. No, but we interviewed with Totally Drunk of the Overwatch League network. You guys may know them as the main hub for tracking all of the current and upcoming podcasts, whether they be more casual or league-based. And we, sat down and talked with them for a while, and it was great fun. I went back and listened to it. Came out great. So if you go by their site, you can find that and listen to it. Kind of shows some support for the cast.
Yeah, absolutely. Ton of fun.
Yeah, and then following that up soon, I think it's this week, on February 8th, we'll be participating in a podcaster Overwatch Fantasy League. So once again, the Overwatch League network is putting on a podcaster-only fantasy league where we're all going to compete to see who's the best show. That, all the stuff we talk about, see if we know what we cover, right? Like who's the best and so on and so forth.
We are getting exposed, Ryan.
Dude.
They're going to be like, what the hell?
They just picked the whole Los Angeles Gladiators team. They didn't really try to.
What are they doing?
Shaz and Goose. But But yeah, so some other podcasters that are in there. The Overwatch League Network is going to be a part of it. You have Owl Recap's going to be on there. Bro Overwatch, they're newer. They'll be there. On the Flank will be there, and Overtakes, which is also a newer cast, and I think a few more podcasters. So it should be fun. They're tracking all the week to week stuff on their own cast. I think it's called Owl by the Numbers. I have to double check on that, and that will kind of have. I think some people will be guest starring on it as well, but mainly about the week to week turnout of the event. So that's exciting. So a lot of stuff going on with community interaction, which is great, right?
Yeah, that poster that you sent me earlier looks great with that logo of ours on there.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, the poster
really
came out really good putting that together. So now back to the why we're here, the actual news, right? Contenders cross region was something we promised last episode that we would talk about. So kind of give us the gist of how that's going to go, Clay.
Yeah, so cross region is something that we were introduced a couple of weeks ago, the 16th of January. But before we get to that, we never really talked about the news that they brought to us in October, the reducing of the region size for Contenders. This is all for the 2019 season. Instead of 12 teams, we're getting 8 teams. Mm-hmm. We're reducing the amount of seasons down from 3 to 2. They're going to be a little bit longer seasons. Now, the teams that get into a contender spot first will go to academy teams. The academy teams that are not in there now will get the first invites.
Okay.
If they do not accept those invites, the second slots go to teams that did well in the previous season, and then the third spot will go to those who win their trials. We're bringing this up now because trials are beginning.
Yeah.
And start to watch those. Start to see the new talent come up through there. But,
and they're being covered by Elo Hell, which I believe is Jane's new program.
Yeah, and Jane's done a really good job. He's put money out of his own pocket towards the Open as well. So, getting some incentives out there for guys to go out there and still work through that Tier 3 and Tier 2 scene for sure. But so the cross-region stuff, we're getting 2 what they're calling showdown events. We're getting one in, we know, China. You're getting the top team from Australia, the top 2 teams from China, the top 2 teams from Korea, and the top team from the Pacific region. And then we get an Atlantic one, which they're saying the location is in Europe or America, undecided yet. As far as, now we'll see with what teams get in there, but the top 2 teams from Europe, top 3 teams from North America, and the top team from South America will go to that. And then from that, we'll get what is called the Gauntlet, which is, it kind of referred it to as the World Championship, as we saw in the Overwatch League.
Yeah.
We'll get that, which is a double elimination bracket group play.
Whew, double elim.
Yeah, room for error.
Yeah, that's usually what you get in the FGC, the fighting game community, does a lot of double elim.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Kind of a standard there.
And that will most likely be in LA, is from what I've read.
Nice.
Yeah, it'd be pretty exciting.
So yeah, that's exciting stuff, especially, as we talked about before, that there was a lot of pushback that, Blizzard doesn't care about Tier 2, Tier 3. And granted, they made some moves that would make people feel that way, but now it seems like they've taken a step back. They've looked at how people respond and said, oh no, we messed up. Let's try to gain some goodwill back and move back in the forward direction to make this thing great. So we'll see how it plays out. I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like they're polishing it up too. We didn't know how you got into Contenders. I mean, you obviously played through the trials, but the fact that academy teams are, they're getting a slot first, so players will obviously want to, kind of flock to those top tier teams. You'll have teams going forward that you can always root for, right?
Yeah.
Where before it's, you kind of got a mix of, the guys we automatically know, your Runaway, your Element Mystic, some of the academy teams from North America. But now it's going to be pretty consistent. Who gets to be in Contenders? And then, the rest of the slots will be filled up by, the other teams in trials. So, yeah it's going to be sweet.
Yeah, now that we cover more Contenders stuff in general, it's going to be hype for us. We have more stuff to kind of look forward to.
Yeah.
So that being said, we're going to shift into the big thing that hit the PTR. So previously we got the armor reduction, or armor damage to armor reduction, or increase. Sorry, it is still very confusing to this day. But then they followed up with another patch recently no one really expected, which is kind of another change of how armor, health, and shields interact. So I'm not going to read through it because it's very confusing. I'm just going to give the example of how it works now, right? So previously, the issue, and this kind of works with Brig, was that for characters like Zarya and Zen, right, these are characters that have health and shields. That's the blue one. So when you're given armor, what would happen is the armor would go under the shields. So you'd be health, shields, or health, armor, then shields. So what that meant was shields, the benefit is that they regenerate. So someone could destroy your shield, but then you just go away, come back with regenerated shield, and they have to go through it again, right? What this change does, after you read it, is that it changes the priority of how those things are consumed. So now, if you get armor, it goes on top of the shield. In general, there's recovery or recoverable versus non-recoverable, and I'm not going to go into that, but that's essentially the gist is that, for instance, if a Tracer was to attack a Zen who had both, armor and shield, she no longer has to chip through the shield to get to the armor. The armor is the first thing she has to go through. And that's a big changer, right? Because you can think about the confusion is that, I'm a Tracer player, I attack a Zen. All right, I go through his shield, and then I get to his armor. Well, his armor reduces damage. So then I get through his armor, and then I get through his health, which damages normally. Well, if you get from the shield to the armor, am I already confusing you, Clay? I think.
Oh, were you talking about this confusing thing? Yeah, No. It is very confusing, but I think once people start playing with it,
exactly,
it'll become a lot more noticeable. Because if I watch a lot of these guys stream, and I watch a lot of Tracer players, and when they go against somebody with the shield and the armor, it's like, what is going? Like, nothing's happening here.
Yeah,
like you don't see any reduction. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So this will be a huge impact, I'm sure.
Yeah, so hopefully I did a decent job at explaining it. But if not, oh well.
Yes, figure it out on your damn own. How about that?
We tried our best to help here.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go over standings one more time, and these are still, the 2018/19 Season 3 standings as far as who won, who the champs for those regions. We're just doing it every episode so people who don't catch the last episode still know what went on. So, Australia, Sydney Drop Bears are your champions there. For China, T1W Esports Club is your champs there. For Europe, Team Giganti came out on top. For Korea, as we talked about in a previous episode, Runaway took it. And they're once again your Korean champs. For North America, Fusion University took it. And then for Pacific, that's actually what our episode is about today. So we'll go through that, which was Nova Esports versus Hong Kong Attitude, one of Clay's favorites.
Yeah,
by name alone. Exactly. Turns out they're pretty good, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
I don't know how you sniff that out just through the name, man. I guess good names and good teams, there's something about it.
Yeah, Big Goose. Think about it. Called that one from the get-go.
Exactly. And then for South America, LFT OWL is your South American champs. So that's the standings. And then we're going to get right into it. So our game today, we're only covering one today, which is why news kind of ran sort of long, is Nova Esports versus Hong Kong Attitude. And this game was surprisingly good. Sort of one-sided, but surprisingly good overall. And the main thing was that we didn't see much goats. I mean, there was goats there, but not much of it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It felt like a little bit. Well, obviously we did get a little bit of goats, but it felt like they played much more different than what we saw in Korea and North America. this is like the Wild West for me in the GOATs because they do things. I always praise the diva that's going for diva bombs outside the combo.
Yeah.
You get a lot of that in this. Just people going, for crazy stuff. And then, yeah, like you said, it's not GOATs v GOATs every single map. We see Doom, we see Pharah, we see some Widow too. So it was sweet.
All right. Yeah, man. So we'll start off with Lijiang, your control map. And, Hong Kong Attitude, they come out the gate with attitude.
Oh, my God. I'm just finish this one up.
Just wrap it up.
I'm going.
But no, they do start off strong here. Immediately, their main DPS, Perfect, shows out on Doomfist, which is something we've seen in the Korea scene with Doomfist instead of the Diva. They use it here as well. And Nova Esports as well does use the same comp. But Perfect here is just causing so much trouble for Nova Esports, and this leads them to taking first round. They cap it, and they don't really give up much. I think there's one time where it flips, but outside of that, they're in total control on Night Market. And then we move to Command Center, where we get a little shift where you get to see Perfect on Doomfist, and then you get to see him on Mei. There couldn't be something more polar opposite as far as characters, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The short, squat girl.
Exactly.
And then this. Oh, you're not talking about what?
Oh, no.
Gotcha. All right. I'm glad we got that clarified.
No, I think that one's more obvious. But no, the character play style, character abilities, they're completely different. And, he's just as good on both, in my opinion. But it's more of a strategic thing that comes out in their favor, which I never thought about, is that Snoats, Snow Goats, on Command Center works because there's so many tight corridors until you get to the point, which is this big open area, that if you can control points, you get the first cap, which we always say is important, and then you can play aggressive, you then tighten the play space, and, Mei walls really help with that. And not just Mei walls, because Hong Kong Attitude here, with the aggression, they use a kind of this rotation of Mei walls, Mei ult, Zarya grab, and then Rhine shatters to control all the corridors. And it's very impressive to watch, so I suggest you go watch this happen. But did you know this is, Clay? Like how they kind of synced everything up?
Oh, yeah, the rotations were beautiful. This is like whoever is, in charge, or not the coach, but whoever is doing the team lead, or, going through what ults they should use, man, perfect. Especially on Control Center, or Command Center, I'm sorry. They, it's a 99-0. They never leave that doorway once they take the choke just by doing the rotations.
Yeah, man, it was very impressive to watch. I didn't realize when it was happening, and I was like, oh, wait, they have control of this, and I know why. Especially when they spawn camp and they're putting the wall up in front of spawns, or they force them to go top and they control top with the grab, and then they force them to go back mid again. It's beautiful. It's well orchestrated. But yeah, so all that being said, Hong Kong Attitude take that one very convincingly, and they start 1-0.
I will say one thing that did impress me, and it's one of those high risk, high reward plays, using the Zarya bubble on Perfect on the Doom instead of holding it for the Rhine, because obviously with Bash Shatter being such a huge team winning ultimate combination, they use it on him, and only one time does it go wrong where they do land a Bash Shatter after a bubble is used on the Doom, but every other time it allows them to get in there, do a ton of damage, and just break up that back line.
Yeah.
Really impressive.
Very impressive. So we move to Numbani here, which is going to be our first capture map, and once again, Nova Esports gets to start off on attack, but, they have Pharmacy. Unfortunately, it leaves them without any way to kind of deal with the Ashe Pharah that Hong Kong Attitude shows up with on defense here. And Perfect does not die once. I don't think he dies at all on Ashe. And it kind of gave me PTSD from when Snilla was on Ashe against us. Oh, man. If you leave... Okay, so rule of thumb. If you leave an Ashe alone, she will hurt your feelings. That's just how it works. And you can see it here where he's just laying down a ton of damage. He's not getting all of the killing blows in the eliminations, but he's setting them up for the rest of the team to kind of knock down, especially the Pharah, to pick off these last bits of health. So granted, Nova Esports is unable to even get a tick. They are forced to switch to Dotes at the end there, but when you have to swap that late in the game on attack, you fall behind in alt economy, you don't really have the presence, and at that point, they were using Bob to kind of deal with the zoning to get them to go where they wanted to go, and they full held. And this led to Hong Kong Attitude on attack, where they decided to go the more traditional goats, but they subbed Sombra for Zarya. just so they can get that hack off that pretty much allows them to get the pick, get the advantage, and get the short cap that they needed. And they go up 2-0.
Yeah, there was about a minute and a half on Nova Esports attack where you're like, okay, they've switched, they've got some ults going, and then how did they get staggered for so long? You're like, holy crap, this turned from a minute and a half, minute 45 into 30 seconds, and then you're in like scramble mode, right? But yeah, that first pick on Hong Kong Attitude's attack where they hack the Diva, who's just doing a little bit of kind of scanning, seeing what's going on, where they're going. You're like, what is he doing down there? Oh, he can't actually get away. He's stuck down there. It's just 5v6 going into it. It was sweet.
Yeah, this was interesting to watch. So when we talk about coordination and just orchestration, Hong Kong Attitude blowing it out of the park, and this kind of plays into what we were talking about earlier with this cross-region situation, where I want to see how that kind of coordination plays against other regions and their top cream of the crop type situations. But we move into Lunar Colony as our third map here, and this one is what I'm going to go ahead and say is the map of the match, mainly because it's more even as far as the play here, and it does go forever. So if you had to watch one, this is the longest one.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so we start off with Nova on attack here with the Doomfist version of Goats, and then we have Hong Kong Attitude actually playing what is it? Oh, not yet. They don't go on attack yet. Sorry. Nova attacks, and they cap really quickly, or real standard. They get about 2 minutes remaining, I believe, on this first cap, which is solid. And then Hong Kong Attitude goes, and they end up getting a lot more time. I think they ended with like 6 minutes. And this is mainly because of how they started. So Nova Esports on defense against Hong Kong Attitude decided to use this Bastion bunker comp, which is something we've seen a good bit now in Contenders. And this consists of Orisa, Diva, Bastion, Torb, Ana, and Brig. And the whole goal is because of the new setup of Lunar Colony, you can post Bastion on one side and then put the Torb turret on the other side, which gives you 2 points of contention and usually causes a lot of trouble. But to Hong Kong Attitude being very well coordinated, they attack, and they have their Ana, who's played by Mangojai, I think is how you pronounce it, and he goes to the opposite side. So he goes left, the rest of the ball goes right to start contesting, and their Bastion turns around, gets slept, and that breaks that whole comp down. And they're able to break through it, and they're able to cap, and they snowball that to point 2, and this pushes us to the second round of play. What do you think about that, Clay?
Yeah, it was pretty sweet, especially Hong Kong Attitude on attack. This is obviously just really good planning. They had seen Nova Esports run the Tor Bastion defense before, obviously, in some tapes, and you're like, oh, this is going to be really difficult to get through. But yeah, they split them almost in 2, making them a 3v6. They not sure how to deal with Hong Kong's attack, and just split them up real quick. And yeah, like you said, they got a really big sleep. And then point 2, when you're having to switch over to Goats, you're down a ton of ultimates. It's so much more difficult. And yeah, they steamroll on the point 2.
Yeah, so this takes us to our second round here for both teams. And this one is more standard. Both teams kind of have a convincing push with the time they have remaining. Because Hong Kong Attitude had a larger time bank, they maintain that going into the third round. I know, right? Third round. And then we get to see Hong Kong Attitude break out something. Since Nova only has 1 minute remaining to make an attempt, they actually break out the same Bastion bunker comp against Nova this time. And they do it better than they did it. They set up, but this time they set up the shield so you can't really sleep from the sides. So you have to contest head on. The moment Nova Esports contest head on, they shift to the proper spot, which is the middle of that platform, close to point, and then they get the picks they need. The people that get on point get picked, and their attempt is over. So Nova is not able to get any cap percentage for that third attempt or the third round. Then we swap to Hong Kong Attitude. I almost said Hong Kong Academy because there's so many of them, right? Hong Kong Attitude on attack here, and they do set up. They try the bunker comp again, sort of. It's more of a high ground comp because they decided to go Junkrat. And that kind of cost them because they don't shift properly. They still get a sleep off on Nova Esports, and then they're able to get the 1 cap point they need, and they close it out, and they're up 3-0.
I see this all the time. People run this strategy on ladder, and if you don't move as a team together to the point, it is so easy for the offense to pick off one by one because people are like, oh, well, I got killed still up top. It's like, dude, we were already rotating all the way back down the point. Exactly. That's what it seemed like on this one. Yeah.
Rotation is I didn't realize how high of a skill set it was considered to be able to understand when to rotate. or when to shift your defensive position in general, or even offensive. Just rotation in general is something that's a high-level concept that I would have never guessed.
Yeah, I always emphasize when I play ladder that we should play Lucio Ana instead of Zen Ana because of how much easier it is to rotate with a Lucio. Obviously, Zen, his ultimate, I think is a little bit better, especially if playing against the Zarya.
Yeah,
you got the Hanzo as well, but rotation's so much easier with the Lucio. You get the speed boost, and you get the healing on the way.
Yeah,
it just makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, I agree. So this takes us to Dorado here, and Nova Esports kind of turns things around. It's not a very special map. I think this is probably the most traditional Goats v Goats you're going to see, as far as just how it sets up. And throughout, Nova Esports is playing pretty well, but the thing that puts him over, like you mentioned, is Crazy S here. He has some diva bombs that are just solid, and like they're the type of diva bombs you can do nothing about. He gets a couple of 3K, 2Ks here, and that's kind of what differentiates them from Hong Kong Attitude on this map, and Nova Esports ends up taking it. What did you think about his bomb placements?
Yeah, they were great. I mean, like I said, it's been very rare that we see diva bombs that are just placed outside of a combination. With the grav, because usually we see the enemy team fire back with support ultimate, so nothing comes out of it. But yeah, he was putting them even in spots where he would maybe not kill somebody. He'd get 2 or 3 people low enough where the team could just clean them up. Yeah, they were great. I love seeing people take these diva bombs, in a different direction. Yeah,
it kind of felt like the old school Poco bombs, the old school, Cool Matt, Mickey bombs, like the ones where they would go behind the team and then throw it back in and stuff like that, right? Before we had these kind of grab setups.
Yep, absolutely.
So, that puts it at 3-1 now. So, they have a chance, and they have to kind of reverse sweep from this point since it is best of 4 in these final sets. And this takes us to Ilios, so another control map. We start on Wells, and Hong Kong Attitude on control maps, they're just good. And they start off that way again. So we get to see Perfect on that Doomfist again, and he does a great job as expected. So they take that first round, and this takes us to Lighthouse, where, they kind of challenge the pick choice. So I kind of want your input here. So Nova opts to use McCree here in their Goats comp, so to protect the McCree.
After they see the Pharah, because I think they start on Doom to match the other Doom. I may be wrong there, but I think that's how they started. Yeah, and they switched to a quick McCree. We've talked about this in the past. The opt to go to McCree. Obviously, the Pharah doesn't have a Mercy, so it's a little better. Better, no dedicated healer. And he does, okay. He gets some fan the hammers that knock out some of the tanks. He flashes over the Rhine shield, setting up, a little bit of shatters. I liked it. It was fine. But Hong Kong just fired back with the Doomfist, as soon as they thought that the McCree would be too much of a threat.
So that's the thing is Juan was their McCree player, and he was doing well, like getting double kills and stuff like that. It's just that the solutions, he was killing everyone but Pharah, which was the situation because Perfect was the one on Pharah. So this allowed him to build a lot of charge. He was able to get a big barrage off. I think he got a 4K barrage before he swapped to Doomfist. So it kind of put them, as far as alt economy, in the right place because they were getting more value out of their Pharah than Nova was getting out of their McCree. And then when they both decided to swap to Doomfist, you're not going to outperform the guy who's the better Doomfist. It's just that's going to carry the team.
Yeah, it's just you just got to weigh which one is higher impact in the goat. It was a Goats with Pharah or a Goats with McCree. What is higher impact? It's like, I don't know, the Pharah has so much room to just maneuver around the buildings. You're never going to be able, unless you click her in the head and get a body shot or get a double headshot, you're never going to be able to take her out of the sky because she can duck around, get some heals, pop back in. But on Wells, did the Hole actually get more kills than either of the team? I kept looking at the thing and I was like, "Who killed?" Oh,
I think so. I think that was only because they were using the well to reset. Yeah, so anytime somebody was losing a fight, everybody would just jump in the well. So it looked like the well was getting a ton of kills.
I could imagine like some communications, errors where like, all right, reset, but no one actually really said it, and I'm jumping in the well.
Exactly.
Like, what are you doing there? Like,
I'm resetting.
Yeah. We have the point right
exactly
now.
Right. We're up. So that closes out Ilios on their part. Hong Kong Attitude 4-1, and they're your Pacific champs. So overall, this was just interesting. This was fun to watch, mainly because of all the different variations on these. The GOATS comp, all the different variations outside of that. You got to see some Pharah Ashe play, more Ashe play than we've seen lately, which just shows how dangerous she is. And I think she's going to have some presence. Like, we already know, we've heard that Sombra's going to have a presence in the first stage of the Overwatch League, but I think Ashe may have a presence there as well, which would be exciting.
I think so too,
especially with this recent patch. So we know for a fact, the commissioners come out and said that the last patch with the armor stuff will be in stage 1. I don't know if this latest change on how the values, like armor versus shield versus health, is handled, we don't know if that's going to be in there. So that would be interesting.
And we even forgot to mention that Paris, the new map.
Oh, yeah.
Do we know? We're not sure if that's going to be on there either. So that'd be interesting to find out. Well, I guess we'll find out in the next couple weeks.
I think we know for sure. Stage 2, it would probably be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely stage 2. But with 2 weeks going, it might be a little bit too risque to do that. But it'll be...
Yeah, because this probably won't hit live for, I don't know, another week or two.
You're right. So, yeah, it only makes sense that this probably won't be in there. So,
yeah.
All right, well, that's pretty much it for this episode. I don't know. Do we have any closing comments? Do you have anything you want to talk about? Anything on your mind?
No, I mean, not really. I try to pop into, streamers that don't have a million people watching, especially guys in the OWL, and just kind of get their opinion on what because I want some insight what the meta might look like going into it. A lot of them are still saying the scrims are about 50% goats. Yeah. And then other people trying other things. Obviously, you're not going to give away everything going into the season. But, yeah, they're still saying that goats is there. But I do believe, and this is a hopeful belief, that somebody's going to figure out a way that, just to beat up on goats, and that'll be the death of it. That's my hope. And you have more chances now that we have so many more teams, right? You have all the expansion teams, so there's a higher chance of new things happening. And teams willing to take risks, especially teams that may be considered the underdog and can afford to have a few losses in their first season type situation. Right. A lot of new teams are just aiming for, a stage playoff or something like that. Like, they're not aiming for number 1. But they get there, obviously, that's great, but it's realistic expectations. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited to see what the teams that do innovate versus the teams that were built solely on goats. Like, because Runaway, they were a goats team. Yeah. You know what I mean? And Contenders, that's all they really played. Obviously they do have really good DPS players, but I'm excited to see what teams take advantage of it. Yeah, same here. So that being said, if you've made it this far in the episode, just another reminder, Atlanta Reign official watch party, February 15th. Starts at 5 o'clock, I think, like 5 or 7, somewhere in between there. All ages, grab your ticket, come get some giveaway prizes, come meet all the cool people in the community doing a bunch of cool stuff. It's going to be fun. And as usual, you guys can reach us at Gmail at thebirdwatcherspodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter, please, and you can keep up with our post and what we're doing at thebirdwatcher, which is WATCH3R. I know it's spelled weird. It's the best we could do. And then we're on Facebook, YouTube, Reddit, Instagram at the Birdwatchers or Birdwatchers Podcast. And if on iTunes, we got another review from Blazing Bob, who's a part of the Owl Recap and some other podcast. So appreciate that, man. But if you guys can leave a review, let us know if you like things. And let us know if you don't like things, or if there's something we need to change, if it's too confusing, like that time when Ryan tried to explain the new armor rules, or something along those lines. Let us know. But until next time. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for listening, guys.
I have destroyed more of your kind than I can count.
You were given those guns to toss them around like trash.
I'll take lessons from you.
Try not to get us killed out there.